There are 2 districts that are going to have Democratic runoffs on October 8th. And would Mr. Russell and Mr. Phipps please stand up? These are the 2 candidates in the District 4 runoff on October 8th. You can early vote now, or you can vote for them on October 8th. The winner of that election will face Mr.
Zytkow. Michael Zytkow. If you see my name and you can't pronounce it, you should probably vote for it. That's my opinion.
Okay, if elected, how would you work with special interest organizations to address the needs of communities that you are not a member of?
Sure. Thank you, Black Political Caucus, for hosting this event. I want to start off by saying I was having a really good day until I got right to the driveway of the church and I was rear-ended with my wife. So you might have seen the police out there. I suffered a little whiplash, so if I seem a little lightheaded, that's why. As far as working with special interests in this area, well, one thing you all should know is I recently became, in fact, 6 days ago, I became the first independent candidate in the history of Charlotte to qualify for the ballot. And that's because, to be honest, that the only special interest I should be serving is the people of this community. Not any corporate interest, not any political party interest. I'll be serving you. I want to make sure every person's voice is heard in the community. I have a community organizing background, standing up to Bank of America when they're foreclosing on our homes, when Duke Energy was raising rates on our seniors and people with fixed income. I want to make sure that we have a community organizing voice on the city council. Not just a corporate voice, not just a voice for big business. We need a voice that speaks out for working class issues and working class people in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've heard you talk a lot about fiscal responsibility. You've talked about the funds given to the Panthers, funds given to Carowinds. My question is a yes/no question. And given today, where you are, those are 2 big tickets that were given. You think about some of the other things, needs in this community, and you're making choices. So as you make choices between some of the other programs in this community, yes, no, given that vote today, how would you vote on those 2 issues? Just yes, no question.
Yes, let's start with you, Mr. Brewer. Just go down.
Not knowing the issue, just hearing it as a standby, I would say I would not vote for the issue. There may be a time to vote for a situation like that.
Just yes, no.
Yes, no.
And what was your answer?
The answer was no.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
My answer also is yes.
Just to clarify, you're asking whether we would give incentives to the corporations?
No, just, I'm talking about the 2 votes, big ticket items. Yes, to the Panthers, $86 million, also the money that the council also supposed to give to Carowinds.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Money for community needs, not for corporations.
That's okay. That's the answer. I mean, that's not the answer, but that's the question.
I hope it's the answer too.
The answer is no.
No.
Yes.
As someone that did vote for it, yes, I will vote for it again.
The answer would be no for the Carowinds. The answer on the Panthers would be no. That has to do with the citizens.
Okay, thank you.
My question is to all the candidates. Why do you think you are the best candidate for the seat/district that you're running for?
I think you should support me because I've been a consistent voice for working class issues. I want to move our culture away from corporations and community. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. We had earlier questions about voting suppression. I was against that. What did I do? I went up to Raleigh and I proudly got arrested. You're not going to hear that from many other candidates. I've helped organize some of the largest protests in Charlotte history. Again, when the banks were foreclosing our homes, predatory lending, I stood up to them. When Duke Energy was raising their rates for dirty energy, I stood up to them. I'm also willing to take a stand on controversial issues. I fully support a living wage. People cannot survive off $7.25. You shouldn't have to go into financial ruin, seek a second job, just to make ends meet. I support ban the box. We have too much discrimination against people for prior mistakes, especially people of color. Their prior arrest should not be held against them. I want to make sure we deprioritize marijuana enforcement. You won't hear that much, but there is a reason why we need to address it. 4 times as many black males are being arrested in Charlotte than white males for non-violent recreational marijuana usage, and I want to deprioritize that like we've seen in other cities. I could go on, but the point is I'm willing to discuss the issues. That's why I'm running as an independent, no party politics, real talk.
Woo! That's right.
Thank you. Next question from the audience.
I have specifically questions for the candidates on District 2 and 4. For District 2, I'm hungering for a candidate who can advocate from the neighborhood grassroots up solutions. In a district where probably unemployment and a number of other problems are hurting, it's very hard to just keep waiting for all these big corporate funded budgets and then hope for the trickle down. So I'm looking for these 2 candidates to illustrate their grassroots experience in whether it's community farming, urban farming, food deserts. There are things that other cities are doing interestingly and differently, but I do not even hear about them when it's discussed in the city council. So I want your take on that. And same question to District 4 candidates with a slightly different twist, that you have from university to blue light coming in, and it's very easy for you to remain focused on the traditional developmental initiatives in the city. And just in the mayoral debate we heard a few minutes ago, that city has changed. Some of the big grandfathers are not writing checks anymore to the city. So how will you reprioritize the budgeting process of the city, which actually brings this kind of grassroots initiative to be funded from the city budget? Thank you.
Well, it's absolutely essential that we prioritize our spending. Rather than giving the Panthers $87.5 million so it's easier for people to walk on escalators in the stadium, we should actually fund our sidewalk system, which we only spend $7.5 million on a year. In the last 5 years, we've seen triple the number of pedestrian deaths and injuries, and that's directly related to the lack of sidewalks, lack of crosswalks, poorly lit streets, and it's predominantly been in lower-income minority communities. We need to make sure that we're funding with that money to actually stop the food desert situation that we have in Charlotte. People need to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. We need to make sure that we ensure affordable housing in this community, make sure that we fund our transportation system. I support the transportation system fully, but I'm also concerned about gentrification. A lot of African American people who lived in South Boulevard transportation corridor were pushed off because increasing rent and increasing property taxes. I also was a voice against the transit rate increase from $1.75 to $2. I organized with disabled, homeless, low-income senior citizens. I also am opposed to alcohol advertising on our buses. Johns Hopkins University released a study showing that African American males were the most targeted with that. And where our bus routes go, we don't need to be targeting them with alcohol ads. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move right into closing statements.
Thanks, everybody, again, for having me out here today. We really have an opportunity November 5th to make history. If you vote for me, I will become the first independent candidate in the history of the city to get on city council. In fact, we've already made history by becoming the first independent candidate in the history of the city to qualify for the ballot. People asked me throughout the journey that I had to take, why didn't you just simply run as a Democrat or Republican? If you did, you'd automatically be on the ballot. But I chose the hard route, the route that people have taken in the past, but few, if none, actually have succeeded prior to me. And that's collecting signatures to get on the ballot. I knocked on doors throughout the community. We got over nearly 8,000 signatures. Over twice as many people that participated in the primary signed my petition because they wanted me to be on the ballot. They wanted a choice. They actually wanted an election where they went to, and there wasn't simply one person on the ballot. That they actually had 2 people, because when there's at least 2 people, you know that they're actually fighting for your needs. They can't simply become complacent and just take you for granted. They actually have to come to you door to door. Many of you have seen me. A lot of you know me. The fact of the matter is, I've lived in Charlotte most of my life, graduated from Independence High School. That's where I started my relationship with my wife here of 10 years. I was a former teacher, a guarantor. I taught African American history and world history. You've heard about my experience in terms of community organizing. I run a nonprofit organization protecting voting rights, fighting against voter suppression. I want to change the culture, like I said here before, away from corporate to community. And for that, I think we need an independent voice, a voice that's willing to stand up and fight for the issues that matter. fight for issues that no one else is discussing, and make a difference, and again, fight for working class people. And I hope you'll support me November 5th, Michael Zytkow, independent candidate, District 4. And again, if you can't pronounce the name,
Mr. Z.
Mr. Z, there you go. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
And thanks to all the candidates, and also let's thank the audience.
Sandwich rolls, fruit, whatever